So the Pale Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Okay, so this is in Revelation, which I normally stay away from anything to do with Revelation or the prophecies there within, just because Revelation itself is very abstract, as well as there's been many times that it's very easy to get wrong. Imagine just doing a little bit of a brain exercise if you were in God's position and wanted to explain the end of time to a person. And let's take an example. Okay, try to explain to someone in the 1st century what a tank is. Try to put it into their perspective. So it's a metal box that breathes fire. So they could probably think, if they were putting it in context of their worldview, they would think that it's a box with a dragon in it that breathes fire. Well, that's not really what a tank is, but that's what, to their mindset, could be. So that's one of the problems with it, is God's trying to explain what this future is to someone who doesn't really have any context to it, and will try to put it into their worldview. So, now there are a couple of ways to look at Revelation prophecies. There's the long-term fulfillment that many people look at, where each part of it, each time one of these horsemen comes, might be a span of 1,000 years in between, might be more, where you might have the first horseman come in the 1st century, the second horseman come in the 2nd century, and so forth, or back and forth throughout history. And I've not done an in-depth look on what each one could be. The problem with this one is we're definitely past what most people would have considered the Pale Horseman, and we haven't seen the continuation of the prophecy yet. So that, I stay away from that one, and I don't necessarily follow that one myself, just because I don't think there's enough behind it. I think it will have already come to pass. We have the instant fulfillment, which says that none of this has happened yet, that all of Revelation is going to happen all at once. Now, let me clarify. I do believe that Revelation will come to pass. Each event in Revelation will come to pass. I don't think that we will necessarily know what that is until after it's already passed. I think it's going to be one of those that we're going to have to look back and say, oh, that's what you meant. So it could happen instant. It could be an instant fulfillment. So would the coronavirus fulfill the 4th horseman, the pale horse? Well, there's supposed to be already the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th one. So it's at the end. So you're supposed to have already had the first 3. So we're kind of jumping all the way to the end with that one, and that really doesn't make any sense. Then you have the multiple fulfillment idea, where free will of humanity really plays into it, where you could have the first horseman go through, and then the second horseman go through, and humanity is able to pull itself back or repent from its sins, and God lets us continue for a while and gives us longer to spread the gospel as far as possible. So those are really 3 sort of concepts of looking at Revelation, at least being able to apply Revelation to our world. So does this fulfill it? Well, the first horseman is supposed to be the white horse, and its rider is given a bow and crown. It's to go out and conquer. So I wouldn't say that we've really seen that horseman go through yet. The second horseman is the red horse, which its rider is given a great sword, which is to take away peace from the world, and men will fall upon men. So they'll start killing each other. It may have gone through, may not have. I don't think it has necessarily. You could say because of the multiple little wars that we have, we kind of have that. But I think what it's really showing is more of an absolute anarchy where you're having men just kill men willy-nilly. The third one is supposed to be a black horse. To his rider is given scales. This is applying some sort of famine or great calamity in that regard. We really haven't seen that. Definitely in America in quite some time, we have not had a famine as far as that would reach to such global proportions of this. We've had many ones where small sections would be affected worldwide, but nothing that was worldwide famine. The fourth one, and that's the one that people are thinking, is the coronavirus, which is the pale horse. And to its rider is given power to kill 1/4 of the world through sword, hunger, death, and beasts of the field. First of all, this is not just a virus. So this is supposed to be more than that. And you could say, well, that's also the aftermath of the virus as well. Could boost up the killing to that number. So let's apply it that way. Let's say, to give us the benefit of the doubt, say that. So let's say coronavirus going to kill 1/4 of the world's population in order to fulfill this, or get close enough that the rest of it can just build on top of each other. So the world's population is sitting at about 7.7 billion. So 1/4 of that is roughly 1.9 billion. 1.9 billion people. So how many has the coronavirus killed so far? And granted, it's still early, but we are doing research. I've heard that we are at stage 2 of testing of a vaccine against it. That's pretty fast going through there. So let's see, what number are we at? Are we at 1 billion yet? No, we're falling a little short of that number. We're about 6,090 worldwide. 6,090 worldwide. That seems a little short. Let's just say the percentage that it still needs to cover is about 99.9997% more than what it's killed so far. It's not looking good for this. But let's go ahead and compare it to other plagues. See if there's another plague that might have fulfilled this prophecy much better. So coronavirus death rate can bounce anywhere from 3.5% to 6%. So it's somewhere around in there. The problem is it's a constant moving target. Whenever you're getting more infected, more deaths, unless it's a really rock solid number, we're not going to be able to tell that necessarily. So let's see here. So coronavirus, 3.5% to 6%. Common flu. A lot of people have told me, oh, this is nothing worse than the common flu. Well, the common flu kills about 1%. So even on the most conservative numbers we have, which would be 3.5%, we're looking at 3.5 times more deadly than the common flu. That's a big little discrepancy there. That's a huge number difference between the two. So that, yeah, it's much worse than the common flu. So what about our last great plague, which was in 1918, which was a Spanish flu that went through, and I do have some family relations who did die in that. That death rate was at 2.5. So much worse than normal flu. And coronavirus is worse than that. It is at 3.5 at the most conservative. It could be up to 6. So almost 3 times at the maximum number than the Spanish flu was. That's looking pretty good. So let's roll the clock back and look at the one that everyone thinks of whenever you talk about a plague of any sort of proportion, which is the Black Plague, the Black Death. That happened in 1347 to 1352 AD. Its death rate was about 60%. 60%. That is over 10 times the maximum amount of coronavirus. Yeah, it's kicking. that one would fulfill the prophecy more, obviously. Because if you got... Not everyone in the world is going to get sick of coronavirus or the Black Plague in this case. So you'd have to kill more than 25% of the people in order to get closer to this prophecy, right? The Black Plague did that. The Black Plague really... 60%? That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy, that number. So would the Black Death fulfill the prophecy? Yeah, I'd say definitely if I was living during that time. I mean, sheesh, that would have been scary. But coronavirus compared to that? No, that's... Coronavirus looks like a little pathetic wussy compared to the Black Death itself. Yeesh. So, would the coronavirus be the pale horseman of the apocalypse? Yes or no? The answer is no. It really doesn't show itself. Is it going to be bad? It could be bad. Am I worried? Really seriously worried about it? Not really. I mean, even if it were to fulfill the prophecy of the pale horseman, hey, according to the Bible, that's the end of the world, and after that, we all get to be with Christ anyway. So, we get the good end of the stick either way. So, either it doesn't fulfill the prophecy and it's not as bad, or it fulfills the prophecy, it's the end of the world, and hey, we win. All good. Let's go ahead and thank you guys for joining me on this exploration of the pale horseman concept, and it's not even close. Those who leave in the comment really don't know the prophecy around the pale horseman. Isn't bringing into concept the other three that are supposed to come beforehand if we take Revelation, at least that section of Revelation, in chronological order. And it seems definitely to lend itself to a chronological order in that regard. At least that section does. Or even the death rate when compared to other plagues going through. We could be in for worse than the Spanish flu, but nowhere near the Black Death level that we saw in Europe in the 1300s.